We're here at the ancient Jersey Shore, a holy site of reverence for a now-defunct species of Americans known for their mysterious GTL lifestyle. What are we looking for? The same thing as always, geoglyphs. Let's see if we can find any. Oh my god! What could this ancient text mean? Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. In just a few short days, oh god, what's the name of it's a set, and it's coming out. Masterpiece Collection Bonfire comes out. But don't worry, Maze of Millennia isn't just a $150 Rhoda and a transaction rollback. It also debuts 2 new archetypes for the TCG. The first is this, Earthbound Prisoner.
Initiating fusion summoner secondary action.
So here's the list. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the #1 place to go if you need a pack simulator, a card database, or want to read a wealth of strategy articles. They also post breakdowns and lists from every major TCG and Master Duel tournament, including the Master Circuit series. Give them a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. So with that, let's examine Earthbound Prisoner. If these monsters look familiar, that's because they're sort of Earthbound Immortals, the ace monsters of the Dark Signers from 5Ds. See, in Arc V, the characters go to a bunch of different dimensions and meet up with alt-universe counterparts to characters from other Yu-Gi-Oh! Seasons. It's complicated, and the payoff is that Yuya marries his mom. Listen, Rick and Morty can't have a monopoly on animated shows with a multiverse and an incest subplot. Anyway, these cards are wielded by Sergei Volkov, who, and I promise I'm not joking here, is also the duelist who plays the BDSM penis flower. Arc V, man, Okay, let's call it on the psychoanalysis and get to analysis. These cards, based on geoglyphs like the Nazca lines, but not exactly the Nazca lines, do one extremely cool thing. By using the spell card Harmonic Synchro Fusion, they can perform a fusion summon and a synchro summon at the same time using the same materials. And I'm happy to report that they've both got good materials in the 3 main deck monsters and good fusion and synchro monsters. Geo Kraken is Terraforming, Geo Gremlina is Stratos, and Geo Griffin is a Monster Reborn. Because some of the prisoners still retain the Immortals' downside of needing a field spell, this is a perfect place to play RUNICK, and since the main deck monsters are a massive amount of free material, they slot in nicely to the Resonator Horus engine as a replacement for the expensive part of that deck. Finally, the neat thing about Miracle Synchro Fusion is that it doesn't require you to make the Earthbound Prisoner synchros or fusions. So if you've got a lot of random fusion monsters lying around from the RUNICK spells, you can summon Dragostapelia and the recently unbanned Danglong for additional points of interaction. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, the Earthbound Prisoners. We've got 3 copies of Stone Sweeper. This is a 5-star monster, importantly, and if in a field zone, you can special summon this card from your hand and can only be special summoned once per turn this way. You can discard this card to add a level 3 or lower Fiend Tuner from your deck to your hand, and you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except fusion and synchro monsters. After that, we've got Earthbound Prisoner Groundkeeper. This is, as you may have guessed, a Fiend Tuner. If this card is normally special summoned, you can special summon a level 5 or lower Earthbound monster from your deck or graveyard, except himself, and you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except for fusions and synchros. Earthbound monsters you control can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, provided he's in a field zone. Finally, we've got 3 copies of Earthbound Prisoner Linewalker. If this card is normally special summoned, you can add an Earthbound Prison or a Harmonic Synchro Fusion from your deck to your graveyard to your hand. If you control a level 6 or higher Earthbound monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target an opponent's effect monster specialed from the extra deck, shuffle it back into the deck, then your opponent can special summon a monster with the same name from their extra deck. Finally, we're playing 3 copies of Vision Resonator, the holdout from Horus Resonator, and now it's time for Runicks. We've got 2 Fountain, the court-ordered 2 Fountain. Again, I don't understand why this card is semi-limited. 3 copies of Freezing Curses, 3 copies of Tip, 3 copies of Slumber, 3 copies of Flashing Fire, 3 copies of Destruction, 1 copy of Smiting Storm, and 1 copy of Dispelling. This is a lot of Runic spells, and probably a few more than you need to be playing. But notably, this, unlike other Runic strategies, does have room for non-engine. I've just elected to fill that room with cards like Slumber and Smiting and Dispelling. After that, we've got Earthbound Prison. While this card is activated, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls, and this card gains this effect. While this is in the field zone, negate that effect monster's effects, and during your main phase, you can normal summon an Earthbound monster in addition to your normal summoner set, and if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and you have an Earthbound, have your opponent's life points, and if you do, negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent currently controls until the end of the turn. We're playing one copy of Harmonic Synchro Fusion, send 2 face-up monsters you control to the graveyard, a tuner and a non-tuner, to special summon a fusion monster and a synchro monster from your extra deck that can be fusion and synchro summoned using only those 2 monsters in the graveyard as material. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this card, except for fusions and synchros. And finally, Crimson Gaia for the Resonators. We are playing one copy of 9 Pillars for Danglong, and then non-engine, we've got 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, and 2 Triple Tactics Talents. In the extra, we've got Sleipnir the Runic main, we've got Dragastapelia, we've got Freaky the Runic Fangs, and 2 copies of Hugin. For Earthbounds, we're on Earthbound Servant Geokraken. This can be made with 2 Earthbounds, and if special summoned, can add a field spell from your deck or graveyard to your hand. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's extra deck, destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, special summon to this turn, and if you do, inflict 800 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed by this effect. We've got Earthbound Servant Geogremlina, who strangely enough came out in a previous set. This is an Earthbound monster and a Dark monster, and if special summoned, you can add an Earthbound from your deck to your hand. You can target a Dark Synchro monster you control. It can attack directly this turn, and if a monster your opponent controls is destroyed by an Earthbound card effect, except during the damage step, you can target one of those destroyed monsters and inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. Finally, we have the Synchro monster, Earthbound Servant Geogriffin. This is a Dark tuner and a non-tuner monster. As a quick effect, you can special summon an Earthbound from your graveyard in defense position, except Geogriffin. Also, you can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except fusion and synchros, and if this card of its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can destroy a card on the field, then inflict 300 to your opponent for each Earthbound monster with different names you control or have in your graveyard. Finally, we have other synchros: Zolkin, Chaos Angel, Baron de Fleur, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, Coral Dragon, Stardust Charge Warrior, and of course, Ding Dong. On the side, we've got Soul Release, and get excited to see this more and more. 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, 3 copies of Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion, 3 Nibiru, 2 Triple Tactic Thrust, and a Harpy's Feather Duster. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Gold Pride Punk, and remember when we thought this was going to be a top-tier metagame contender? Those were the days. Our hand looks real gassy, so let's begin with Willie. We're going to normal summon this copy of Groundskeeper in order to summon from deck a copy of Linewalker. Linewalker here is going to grab from deck to hand a copy of Harmonic Synchro Fusion, then we'll fire off the Slumber for a Sleipnir. These 2 are going to make a Baron, so we can insulate all our future plays, and we can go Runic Fountain into Runic Tip. That's going to grab a Destruction here, then we're going to activate Destruction in order to summon from the extra deck a copy of Hugin the Runic Wings. We'll go Hugin Effect in order to chain block this copy of Fountain, and down comes Ghost Ogre. I was kind of expecting an Ash Blossom, but sure. We'll go ahead and activate the effect of the Hugin in Graveyard, then afterwards we'll go Freezing Curses in order to summon from our extra deck another Hugin so that we can Harmonic Synchro Fusion into a Ding Dong and a copy of Dragastapelia. Ding Dong's going to go grab 9 Pillars. We will activate Triple Tactics Talents to draw a couple of cards, keep that Fountain online, and what do you know, we find Tip. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Extreme Session. We'll fire off Tip. That's going to grab from deck to hand a Freezing Curses. They're going to normal summon a Xiamen, and we probably want to spend the Dragastapelia on that. Afterwards, that effect is going to be negated, and they're going to go Extreme Session to draw a card, followed with a Foxy Tune, pitching a card for a Deer Note. Down comes Star Leon, triggering the effect of the Star Leon and the Deer Note in sequence. We will negate the effect of the Star Leon so we can keep our Omni live, and they're going to summon back the Xiamen. We'll go Fountain at Resolution in order to shuffle 3 cards back. They will Ghost Ogre, and we will Baron it. Afterwards, we're going to draw a couple of cards, and whoa, those are some nice ones. We will Flashing Fire the Typhon as it comes down, and unfortunately, our opponent doesn't have much left in the tank. We'll draw for turn, and this should be a hop, skip, and jump to lethal. The Destruction off the top is extremely funny and prompts a concession from our opponent. Our second match is up against Hero, and we are going second. God, it's going to hurt me to do this. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Ferris. They're going to get an increase from deck. They'll activate the effect of the increase, summoning the increase, and walking straight into an Ash Blossom, same as it ever was. They're going to activate Mask Change in order to make a Dark Law, then set 1 card and pass turn. Okay, we should be able to do this pretty easily. We're going to begin with a copy of Willie. It's going to get Ash Blossomed, which is rough, but it means that we can use our Dispelling in order to get a Sleipnir, and then afterwards we can make a Baron. We go for Baron here, and there's of course a reason that they don't imperm here. The Baron immediately contests it, so they're supposed to let this copy of Dark Law go to the graveyard, but because they did so, I screw up my read that this is an infinite impermanence and do not play around it. Our opponent draws for turn. Oh my god, a hero lives. Is it actually Jade and Yuki across the table? And now that they have a proactive way to force the Baron negate, they can trade the imperm for it and get a Stratos. They go for Stratos here in order to grab from deck to hand a copy of Vion. They're going to normal summon this Vion, activate the effect, and then they'll activate the effect of the Vion for a Polymerization. They'll go Malicious, and now afterwards they can go for a Cross Crusader, but they've done it in such a way that we can activate Flashing Fire, targeting the malicious to keep them off of Destiny heroes. This means theoretically they can't get to DPE, and instead they're going to go Sunrise here, grab a copy of Miracle Fusion, not even Miracle Harmonizing Synchro, what the heck, to get a copy of Infernal Rage into Favorite Contact. They will eat the Hugin back to the extra deck, set the Favorite Contact, and pass back to us. We draw for turn. I guess we'll start with a copy of Line Walker. We'll activate the effect. They will go Favorite Contact, shuffling back 2 D heroes to make a Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. We can Baron de Fleur the Phoenix Enforcer. They'll activate the effect of the DPE, and we will activate Slumber for Freaky. Afterwards, they're going to go for DPE, and we can Miracle Synchro Fusion into a Geo Gremlina and a Geo Griffin. 2 Earthbound prisoners. It's fantastic. From here, we're just going through the motions. This Geo Griffin will bring back the Line Walker. Then we can use the Resonator to make Chaos Angel, banishing their last remaining monster and grabbing a Charging Gaia from deck to hand. We'll activate the effect of the Gaia in order to get another copy of Vision Resonator, and then afterwards we can use Geo Gremlina to freak out our opponent before we go to the battle phase. We have to skip for the Runic cards. What do they draw off the top of a Fusion Destiny? It really is Jaden. Unfortunately, we've got it all. They're going to pass turn here, and we should get in for lethal. And we're going to begin with the effect of the Baron de Fleur, and then we can get in with Geo Gremlina and Chaos Angel for well over lethal. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Fire King Snake Eye, and get excited to hear that a lot over the next couple of months. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Dia Bellstar. They're going to set the original Sinful Spoils, Snake Eye, in order to summon a copy of Ash from deck. Ash is going to grab from deck to hand a copy of Populous, and then they'll activate the effect of the Populous, and link summon a copy of Sunlight Wolf. Populous triggers here. They're going to bring back this Ponix in the back row. Then they're going to activate FKI in order to pop the Flamberge in hand and grab a Garunix. That'll trigger both the Flamberge and the Garunix, summoning from the graveyard a Populous and an Ash, followed by Garunix, whose on-field effect triggers to send Kieran. Kieran and Ponix trigger here. We're going to summon that Ponix, and then at point of resolution, we'll activate the effect of the Ponix in order to grab a Sanctuary. From this position, they can make an IP Masquerader and trigger the effect of the Sunlight Wolf in order to grab back Kieran and go to Amblo Whale. We'll draw for turn. This hand is... it's good, but will it be enough? That remains to be seen. We're going to begin with Slumber, targeting the Amblo Whale. I'm pretty excited about that play. Afterwards, we're going to go ahead and grab this copy of Vision Resonator. They're going to go for a Garunix, activate the effect of the Garunix, and send a copy of Arvada. Arvada is going to target the Ponix. They'll summon the Ponix. We'll normal summon Wille, and we'll activate its effect to summon a copy of Line Walker from deck. We'll activate the effect of the Line Walker in order to grab the Harmonic Synchro Fusion. Then we'll activate Runic Dispelling in order to grab a copy of Main. They're going to go for Sanctuary here, but we can chain Main. It's just kind of cool that, like, this Main immediately forces a contest from our opponent because of what it does with Baron, but also it is interaction on its own. We'll go for the Harmonic for both of the Earthbound servants. Then afterwards, we're going to activate the effect of the Geo Griffin and go for Baron de Fleur. We'll go into Charge Warrior to draw a card, and, well, that's a pretty good one. We'll go Fountain into Tip. We'll activate Tip in order to grab a copy of Freezing Curses, then Fountain for 1, 2, 3. We'll draw 3 cards here, and those are all pretty dope. We'll go for Baron de Fleur here in order to target the Fire King Island. They will replace effect. We'll go to the battle phase and force to end. We are in a fantastic position here, but our opponent is as well. They draw an Ash Blossom off the top. They're going to go for Ponix in the standby, and then they're going to go for the original Sinful Spoils in order to grab another one. First, they're going to go Ash. We will Ash their Ash, and then afterwards, they're going to go for Fire King Island in order to pop this Amblo Whale and get an Arvada. They'll trigger the effect of the Amblo Whale and the effect of the Ponix in hand, summoning the Ponix and summoning back the IP Masquerade. Ponix triggers. They're going to grab another FKI. Then they're going to normal summon the Arvada and go into Little Knight. They'll go Little Knight, target Runic Fountain. We'll go Freezing Curses, target Little Knight. They'll go Little Knight, targeting Little Knight and Geo Kraken. So that does allow it to resolve. We will lose our field spell, but no big deal. From here, they go for Typhon and go to the battle phase, eating the remainder of our board, but they're passing back and we're not dead. So I feel okay. We draw for turn. That's a pretty decent one. We're going to begin with Stone Sweeper. They're going to go for Arvada here to negate it, popping the Ponix. That brings back the Garunix and triggers the Garunix on field effect as well. And it's going to trigger the effect of the Arvada in the graveyard and the Kieran, and we'll go for Slumber. We'll activate Slumber here in order to summon a copy of Hugin. We'll activate Hugin, and oh, the drawn Ash Blossom. Oh, we were so in this if not for that. Okay, well, now things look pretty dire. We're going to go for the Crimson Guy to get back this Vision Resonator. We're going to Runic Destruction, targeting this Sanctuary. As we summon the Vision Resonator, they chain the effect of the SP Little Knight to get rid of the Resonator. We'll go for Chaos Angel and go to the battle phase, which is skipped for Runic spells, and concede. Does your brain hurt yet? That's going to be every single game you play in this upcoming format. Can you believe that? Thankfully, the second one should be a lot easier because we've opened 5 Runic spells. We're going to go for Tip first, then we'll go for Destruction. That's going to summon from our extra deck a copy of Hugin. We'll activate Hugin, and thankfully we have drawn one of the ones you can activate onto an empty board. Here comes Slumber. We're going to activate the effect, and then we're going to go Fountain for 3. What do we draw? Well, one of them is Wille, so we'll activate the effect in order to summon from our deck a copy of Line Walker. Line Walker effect, we're going to grab a Harmonic Synchro Fusion, then we'll activate it for, once again, Danglong and Dragus Depelia. Danglong here is going to grab from deck to hand a copy of 9 Pillars. Then we will Dispelling in order to summon a Sleipnir and make a Baron as well. Set to pass. Our opponent will Druid Swarm at end phase. Yeah, for sure, dog. They're going to draw for turn. That's a pretty good one, not going to lie. They're going to go Sinful Spoils, Hunter Fiend for Diabellstar, into Diabellstar, into Druid Swarm. We're going to go ahead and negate the Druid Swarm. I'm not playing around triple attack here because we saw one off the tip banish. So, like, they're usually only on 2 anyway. I don't know. We're going to go Flashing Fire here and banish a bunch of cards off the top, including an FKI. We know they play 2, but that's still good. We're going to go 9 Pillars on the triple attack. They're going to go Ponix. We're going to activate the effect of the Dragostapelia, and they're going to activate the effect of the Kieran. We're going to go for tip here because we know we're going to need some interaction. We're going to go ahead and get the Runic Destruction, and then draw 3 cards at point of resolution here as well. 1, 2, 3. Let's see what we grab, and they're all bangers. So we're going to go for Destruction on this copy of Sanctuary. That's going to pop that sucker and banish 4 more, and down comes Typhon once again. We will activate the effect of the Freezing Curses, and our opponent will scoop it up. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and holy shit. Runic Tip is good, but it's not that good. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Wanted. That's going to grab them a Diabellstar. Diabellstar here is going to set a Sinful Spoils Snake Eye, which will tag into a Ponix. They'll go Ponix here. That's going to grab from deck to hand the Legendary Sanctuary. Then afterwards, they're going to draw a card, activate the Sanctuary, and set FKI. They'll go for Ash here. Ash effect for Populous. Populous effect. And then let's just go ahead and activate the Populous effect on field as well. Next, they're going to go for the effect of the Ash in order to grab a copy of Flamberge and Populous effect in order to put a couple of those in the back row. Next, they'll go FKI to destroy a card. They're going to pop this copy of Arvata, then trigger the effect of the Garunix in hand. That allows them to activate the Garunix effect on field, sending a Ponix and going into this copy of Sunlight Wolf. This Flamberge can bring back 2 Ponix here instead, and then we can trigger the effect of the Sunlight Wolf and go into an Ambro Whale. Looks kind of innocuous, but is definitely the end of the game. We're going to go for Runic Tip. That's going to grab us a copy of Runic Fountain. They're going to go for Kieran here. Kieran is going to trade for the Amblo Whale. Amblo Whale is going to target the IP Masquerena. It will also trigger the graveyard effect of the Garunix, which will activate here to send to Kieran, and Kieran will trigger as well, summoning an Arvata and popping our copy of Fountain. We'll go Stone Sweeper. Next, we're going to normal summon this copy of Linewalker that gets negated with Arvata. Afterwards, we're going to activate Freezing Curses to summon a Runic from our extra deck. We'll go Hugin. Hugin effect to search the field spell. Maybe we can draw on our opponent's turn with a 3rd tip. Nope, they're going to go Masquerena for an SP Little Knight and banish the Fountain straight away. Okay, well, we can make Danglong, I guess. Okay, this one's over. Oh man, what a bleak one. So we're back with the deck, and well, losing after beefing a die roll to the best deck happens. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. Harmonic Synchro Fusion gives you so much advantage by both fusion and synchro summoning with the same materials. Being able to turn 2 monsters into 2 interruptions makes the investment into the Earthbound cards worth it. 2. Having a counter trap via Danglong means that this version of Runic has some extra protection against power spells, which other variants I've seen are impressively weak to. And 3, unlike other Runic decks, this deck has a fair amount of room for extenders and defensive cards. We loaded up on bad Runics, remember, but you can easily slot in 5 or 6 more non-engine if the format demands. And the cons. 1. It loses to all the same cards every Runic deck does. Droll, Bell, DD Crow, and Ash are all heavy hitters in this coming format, so the deck will naturally be facing a lot of hate in every game. 2. The Earthbound cards are weaker to hand traps than the Bestials or Quem is. Hitting Linewalker with a hand trap can reduce the ceiling of the deck unless you run more semi-bricks of Harmonic Synchro Fusion, so it feels less worth it to play this engine than the current meta version, unless you really like Earthbounds. And 3. You have to buy Maze of Millennia singles, which seems like just throwing in the towel RE Bonfire. Overall, for an archetype that struggled to do anything for 10 years, this support has turned it into an engine worth considering for many decks in the future. Just don't expect it to upturn the meta. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These 10-minute testings are functionally subsidized by and frequently suggested by my patrons, including the ones you see in front of you. I want to give a quick shout out to the following: Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Brett Henry, Canner, Darkmaster Zork, Derpin Dragon, Devin Senpai, DJ Elephant, Enraged Peacock, Gravity, John Piet, Juan Cruz Avila Zati, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Lockstone, Luis Hernandez, Matthew M. Derezzo, MBT Play Medolce, Melfistan, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Puffins of Doom, Rose Lapine, Solar Flare the Ricka Queen, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Vincent Storm, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, and Yuki. I couldn't have done it without you.